Hi guys, and welcome to The Silver Lining. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, this is video number 3. Last week we talked about genetic testing and the positive impact that genetic testing has on psychiatric treatment. I was very intentional about wanting to start there because I can come on here and make these videos and talk to you guys until I'm blue in the face about, gratitude-centered living and connectedness and all of these, spiritual awakenings and all of this stuff. But if the foundation is not what it needs to be, if our bodies and minds are not working for us in the way that they were intended to, all of those things are going to be so much harder, okay? So I wanted to start at the bottom, start with the foundation, which for me was the genetic testing. So the genetic testing basically gives you a user's manual for your mind and body. We've been operating these machines for years without really knowing exactly what they need. The genetic testing tells you what you need, tells you what you're lacking, and tells you how to fix it. The other aspects of the foundation pieces that need to be in place to give yourself, the best support are activity level, sleep, nutrition, and then nutraceuticals, which is supplements. And I'm going to be talking about all of that next week, okay? I'm super excited about that. But today, I wanted to touch on something that I briefly mentioned last week, and that is a low self-image, okay? Or poor self-image, call it what you want. And the reason I'm coming back to this is because if you can recognize having a poor self-image and recognize the cycles and patterns of behavior that creates in your life and redirect, everything that we talk about moving forward will become easier, okay? Because when you start having those thoughts, you'll be able to recognize them and stop them, okay? So we're going to talk about that today. So I mentioned last week that one of the hardest, aspects for a child suffering abuse at the hands of a parent is because it affirms in the child's mind that I am bad because bad things are happening to me. We tell our children, when you misbehave, there will be negative consequences. Everybody pretty much tells their children that, right? So if negative consequences are happening in the child's life, but the child is not able to recognize any bad behavior that's creating that situation, what happens is they're left feeling, well, I must just be innately bad. That must be why all of these bad things are happening to me. And this doesn't always happen. Sometimes children, even at a young age, are able to say, hey, hold up, this is not me. But it's not likely because we're raised to trust our parents. So, in a situation like this, it is very, very important to be able to recognize that low self-image and change the self-talk. But oftentimes, if you ask someone, how do you feel about yourself? Do you think you're a pretty good person? Do you think you're doing a good job? Most people will be like, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm trying. A lot of people aren't even aware that they have a low self-image because it's just not something that they allow themselves to think about. But a low self-image definitely puts into place patterns of behaviors in our life that are not good for us. So I wanted to talk about that. How do you know if you have a low self-image? How do you recognize negative patterns of behavior within your life? And then what do you do to change those behaviors? So here are a few signs or symptoms or whatever you want to call it that let you know that you have a low self-image. So first things first, if you have a low self-image, it is very likely that you keep people at a distance. Now, I want to be real clear about something. Being a loner and keeping people at a distance does not necessarily mean that you have a low self-image. But if you're keeping everyone at a distance because you feel like, if they really knew me, they wouldn't like me. If they really knew who I was, the real me, they wouldn't like me because I'm not good. I'm bad. I'm not a good person. That is a pattern of thought that starts at a very young age, but will continue through life unless you recognize it. That's something that I struggled with for years and still in small ways, deal with that some. But that is one sign that you have a low self-image. Being afraid to really let people in and let people see the real you and be vulnerable and honest in your communications, that's all kind of part of keeping people at a distance. The other thing, I have notes, you guys, but I'm blind and, okay, self-sabotage. All right, self-sabotage. This is a big one. So, for example, you start a new job, it's an incredible position for you. You're making money like you've never made, you have more responsibility, but you feel prepared, you feel up for it. You're there, you get in it, the anticipation has been great, but you start to feel very, very uncomfortable. You're not really sure what you're doing, you're not really sure you want to be there, and you start to self-sabotage. And completely subconsciously a lot of times by staying up too late, being late for work, not turning things in because you just forgot. These things that a lot of times are completely subconscious start to happen and you're sabotaging. Or sometimes you won't even go for the promotion. Sometimes you won't even go for the job, interview because you just think right from the start, oh, I'm not going to get that. I don't really have what it takes. I'm not qualified, and all of this self-talk that is not good for you, right? So self-sabotage can look a little different in different ways, but the behavior is the same. The presentation is really the only thing that changes. So that's another sign that maybe you have a low self-image. If you have a knowing of who you are and your worth, you don't self-sabotage, okay? It just doesn't happen. Now, you'll still make mistakes because we're human and that happens, but you won't self-sabotage because you'll know that you are more than qualified for that position, that you are worth every bit of the money that they're paying you, and that you deserve that opportunity. So, I also mentioned last week that, going into therapy and doing the hard work in therapy, and y'all, it is hard work. It is so hard and frustrating at times, but that's where the transformation lies. So the knowing that you are a good person, the knowing that you have worth, that is something that you can most definitely achieve through therapy. And some people don't need therapy. Some people are able to do it, with spirituality or religion or, whatever, their way is. For me, it definitely required therapy. And I'm still in therapy. I think it's just a really great way to stay sound and stay grounded for me. But the knowing that you are a good person and that you have worth, and that just by being on this planet, just by putting your vibration out into the world, you're improving the things around you. That is what we all want to strive for, okay? That is the place where we all want to be. And if you have that knowing, you won't self-sabotage. I have like this funny balance between having the knowing and then getting stressed out and losing the knowing. So I don't live in the place of knowing, but the goal for me is to live in the place of knowing. And I'm working towards that. We're never done, right? We're never arrived at, whatever, a higher level. We're just working towards a higher level. So self-sabotage is another of the symptoms. Dishonesty. Whew. All right. Dishonesty is a big one, you guys. Dishonesty is most definitely a symptom of a low self-image and insecurity because, look, if you think you're already skating on thin ice, like if you think you already have a front row seat to hell, you are not quick to want to tell people about your mistakes and to be honest and to own up to things because you feel like you're already just on the verge of being ostracized, right? The other side of that is that if you don't think that you're a good person and that if you don't feel confident in who you are, you're going to want to make stories to make yourself look sound better, right? So that is something that is very common with a low self-image. And I definitely struggled with this when I was younger a lot. In both areas, like making myself look and sound better, but then also, not being honest about my mistakes. And I struggle with dishonesty now too, but in a completely different way. For me now, the struggle is not about those things. The struggle is about being honest about what I need and honest about how I feel. I'm very, very quick to, not tell people if they've hurt my feelings, or not really stand up for myself in situations, and be honest about how I'm feeling and put my needs out there. Which brings me to my next symptom. The other symptom of a low self-image is that you tend to put everybody else's needs above your own. All right. Now, this is a tricky one because, I was raised in church, and some of you watching were probably raised in church as well. And we're sort of taught that we should always put other people first. Well, in some situations, you will put other people first. I mean, I put my children first, and I will do so. And that may or may not be the right thing to do. You guys, I do not assume that I have all the right answers. I shoot from the hip sometimes. I am comfortable with my experiences, and I make my decisions based on what I think is right. And putting my children first is what I feel like is right. But I also have to make sure that my needs, my basic needs, are being met. When you put everyone else's needs, not just basic needs, but all of their needs above your very basic needs, that's not good, you guys. You're left tapped out. You're left unfulfilled. And what happens is oftentimes you become resentful because your needs aren't being met. You're not meeting your own needs, and you're not being honest about your needs with other people, so they can't meet them either, right? So being, honest about your needs is very important, but if you find that you're putting everyone else's needs above your own, it may be because you don't think that you are deserving of needs or deserving of having your needs met. And this is something that I most definitely have struggled with in my life, and still do, at times. I'm trying to get better with it. I am getting better with it. All right. I'm just going to put that out there. But it has been a struggle for sure. We want to help other people. We want to be compassionate and aware and, do what we can to help out when we can. But if we are not making sure that we're meeting our own needs and giving other people an opportunity to do the same when applicable, then we're really doing ourselves a disservice. No one else should be more important than myself. And I know that's a hard one. I know that's a hard one to swallow for some of us, but it's true, So that's another symptom. All right. I can't think of anything else I wanted to talk about with this, but I also feel like I'm leaving something out. I don't know. I might be leaving something out. If I am, I'll be posting a video behind this one with what I've left out. But pretty quick stuff today. Those are the things, the symptoms that you might see come to play and can help you recognize if you have a low self-image, okay? And if you do have a low self-image, if any of that stuff sort of sounded familiar and something that you find yourself doing sometimes, it's okay, you guys, don't freak out. It's very common. And there are absolutely ways to change that. First things first, when you feel or recognize yourself falling into those patterns of behavior, stop what you're doing, take a breath, and recognize what you're doing. And then flip the script, you guys. Change that self-talk. Say, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right. I am a good person. I am of value. Give yourself those affirmations. And don't let the disappointments in life be translated as reaffirming a negative self-image. For example, if you go for that job position, that promotion that's amazing, and you don't get it, don't let that be reaffirming that you're not good and that you're not worth it. Sometimes we are just not ready for the things that are in store for us. And then also, sometimes rejection is God's protection. I know that sounds crazy, but it has most certainly been the case for me. There have been so many times where I have thought that I wanted something, thought that I wanted to go down a path, and the door was slammed in my face, and I was like, God, what now? I mean, that's devastating. But with a little bit of time, I realized that that was not what I thought it was going to be. And that would not have made me happy. It would not have fulfilled me. And it was not for me. And then at other times, I try for something and initially it doesn't work, but it's just because I'm not ready yet, you know? And that there's a lot of truth to that. Sometimes we have to be ready and we have to do the work in order to be ready for the things that are meant to bless us. So when things go wrong, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you deserve bad. It just means that things go wrong sometimes. Life happens, right? And it's not a personal thing against you. If you share your needs with someone, if you say, hey, you know what, I want to help you with this, but I have to take care of my needs first. If that's a problem for them, that is their problem. That is not your problem. Please don't make that your problem. If we share our boundaries with someone and that person does not respect our boundaries, that person needs to work on their issue. It is not your issue. It is their issue, most certainly, okay? So feel free to share with them, well, Katie says that's your issue and not mine, right? They can take it up with me. I don't mind. So those are some things that you can do. You recognize those patterns of behavior, you take a breath, you stop, you flip the you flip the script, and you change the self-talk, right? The other thing is, you guys, I encourage you to get in therapy if you feel like you need it. It will change your life. You find a good therapist that you click with, they will start helping you understand these patterns of behavior in a lot more depth than, you know, what this is intended to do. But we will talk more about self-talk and how we can affirm ourselves in our daily lives in a few weeks. I have a video planned for that already. So this was today. I hope you guys gained some, you know, insight or information from this. Next week we'll be talking about nutrition and activity level and nutraceuticals and sleep and the importance of those things. So that, you know, in these next few weeks, we will make sure that the foundation information is in place before we move forward. All right? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. I hope you're enjoying this. And I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Bye.